Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leathercraft, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a leather element, drop it in the comment box below. All right, this week, 7 creative ways to use our scrap. Now, we can use scrap here and there for maybe, say, glue or experimenting or testing. But here's 7 ways we can use some scrap that actually turns into very cool projects. 1 point. If we get our scrap from a production shop, you know what? It's going to look like that. Not much we can do with that. Well, maybe. But let's look at scrap from our shop. Pieces that are a little bit larger, but something that may just hit our scrap bin and stay there from here on out. So let's start over here. Cool way to use our scrap. Tassels are a fun project, easy to do, and they look great. Now with these, we can simply drop in a split ring and we've got a very cool keychain. Well, let's take that a step further. Think of adding this onto a purse as a dangle for a project or a purse we already own. Maybe a pouch, duffel, backpack, boots. And in fact, on my briefcase, I've got tassels on both ends. Makes a nice detail. With these, we can make these as long as we want, as short as we want. We can add as many strands or as few as we like. And even right here, that's a lightweight veg tan. We can dye that in a number of colors. That opens up all kinds of possibilities. We've got a video just on making tassels, but let's take a look, see how easy this is. So I've got a piece of scrap here. It's about 1.5 inch by maybe 8 inches, give or take, and I've cut strands in this at about 1/8 of an inch. Now, if some are a little wider, some are a little smaller, does not matter. Once we roll that, no one will ever see that one's a little larger or a little smaller. Now, I like to put a spine across the top, meaning I want to start my cut about 1 inch down. Therefore, I can drop in beads, or I can tie that or lace that closed. So with this, let's flip this over. Now I'm going to take my first strand, and again, the video will show you how to glue this. But watch this. Let's take that first strand. I'm going to bend that up. Let's hold it a little bit above the top of the leather. Bend that back down. And now let's simply roll across. Look at that. How cool is that? And notice we even have a loop built in, ready to go. Tassels, great way to use up our scrap. All right, let's step over to one of my favorites. And that's because we're now going to use our scraps to make our projects more professional. We always want to add our logo or brand or initials. Here's an easy way to do that. That's about 1.5 square inches of veg tan. I've dropped in my D. You don't have to have a custom stamp by any means. You can drop in your initial or a combination of stamps that will create a logo or a brand for you, or a combination of stamps and initials. Now, we can take this, drop in 2 simple rivet holes. Let's jump over to a pic of a bag I made for my wife. Notice my logo, riveted right front and center. How professional does that small detail make that bag look? And it came out of scrap. We don't have to rivet these on. We can take some of our scrap lace. In fact, that's about 7 inches of lace. And right there, we can tie that onto our project. How cool is that? We're using our scrap to up the level of our project. Now let's jump over to one with all kinds of creative possibilities. And that's exactly right. Literally unlimited possibilities. Right here, let's start here. Simple spots, button stud or Sam Browne. No kidding, that's about 4.5 square inches of leather. That's about 5.5 square inches. We can do beautiful braids. In fact, that's our Spanish or Mexican basket weave. Right here, the filigree cut. Unlimited possibilities in simply the cut alone. Trunk handle cuffs, veg tan. We can simply take a strap, split it down the middle, wet it, take one end, spin that around several times, let it dry, and we've got a very cool, very simple cuff. Right here, my all-time favorite, mystery braid. There are all kinds of ways we can go with just that. Second point here though, we can actually have as much fun and spend more time creating our design than we will making it. Earrings are a rabbit hole I love to go down because once you design one set, you can't stop. There's so many possibilities. Right here, there's our tassel again. How beautiful is that? How easy is that? And again, that's about 3 square inches of leather. I think about 8 cents worth of leather. Peppers, very creative. We can go Western. We can go simple. This is a piece of veg tan dyed black. Punch a hole in that. laying some suede scrap behind that. Here's one of my favorites. I did some light tooling, used our Angelus paints. Look at that. A couple of pieces of wax thread, some indiscriminate beads from my bead box, and we have got a beautiful earring. Right here alone, we could spend days creating, designing, and making earrings. Here's a piece of leather I've cut from a project. It's just a trimming. What in the world am I going to do with this? All kinds of things. Let's start right here. Let's just cut that into lace. Now we're making our 4-strand braids. Got a great video on these. We can go with a veg. We can dye it. We can alternate our colors. Chrome tans makes a great purse dangle or a keychain. But also just a simple piece of lace. Purse dangle right there. My wife loves the feathers. Simply beads in a cone. There's our tassel again. Add a clip. Great purse dangle. We can go straight with our mystery braid. In fact, this came off of my briefcase. Or one more step. Let's go crazy. Let's see what we've got in the way of stuff in our shop. Let's combine that into a cool project. Look at that. That's scrap that would typically go in the garbage. I always seem to have a lot of chrome scraps in my shop, particularly suede. So let's use these as well. I'm going to make a little weight pouch. When we're tooling or stamping, our leather or our project tends to want to move around on us. Let's drop that down. I'll have no issues. That's not going to damage my leather. That's simply a piece of suede, about 4 by maybe 6, and we can stuff that with pennies or shot, or in fact, in my case, I use mismatched chainmail links. But let's take that one a step further. When I'm painting, and I'm right-handed, I want to rest my hand on a pad. Let's take our scrap. In fact, these are our cuttings from our bevel and our groover. Let's stick that in there, sew that down. Now I've got a very comfortable pad or pillow to rest my hand on when I'm painting. Now, one more step with our chromes. I wouldn't consider this scrap, but these are our cinch pouches. Got a great video on these. But let's do this. Let's shrink the size of those down a little bit. How's that for a cool little medicine pouch or a neck pouch? Put a long piece of lace on that. Now let's go to an extreme. Look at that little bitty pouch. In fact, this pouch is so small it makes 1/8 inch lace look huge. That's a 1 inch or a 1.5 by 1.5 cinch pouch. We're really going to the extremes for our scraps on that one. There's so many things we can do with scrap. Typically, scrap's going to land in a scrap bin. It's going to be there from here on out. Let's dive into that bin. Pull some of that scrap out and make some gorgeous projects. And along those same lines, one more. My wife loves to raid my scrap bin. But look at what comes out. Wall hangings that are absolutely creative, beautiful, and she has a great time doing it. In fact, she takes it a step further because she'll go through my hardware, find pieces and parts that I don't use, or beads and feathers. Look at that. Is that not a creative and beautiful addition to our home? I hope you find something here that helps you. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.